No,
now I got that sense.
Well, what it gets to on these cases, and you know it as well as I do, our job is to identify and eliminate suspects.
I can't believe this.
So if we ask you to the point to give us a DNA sample, a buccal swab, so we can identify or eliminate you, would you be willing to do that?
Maybe. Because I know this.
Well, that's where we're at too. I mean, because right now, from looking at the evidence, it's possible we may have some DNA at the location.
That's great.
And we're going to do what we can to try to put this thing together. And your name's in the book. These people are pointing at you for whatever reason.
I don't know why. That's just crazy. I mean, that's absolutely crazy.
And it would be irresponsible on our part not to look at it.
I know. You guys have to do your job, and I guess I'm going to have to contact somebody. So.
That's fair.
I mean, because I know how this stuff works. I
Sure.
mean, I just can't believe it.
I mean, we understand that. I mean, if we were in your position, I mean, we would feel the same way.
I just can't even believe it. I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm shocked. I'm really shocked that somebody would be saying that I did this. I mean, we had a fight, so I went and killed her. I mean, come on.
Well.
That's...
Okay.
All right.
Well, thanks for giving me the courtesy. I wish I could record it.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Stephanie, take care.
All right.
This is absolutely crazy.
Have a seat, Stephanie.
This is insane.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay. Stephanie, you know you have the right to remain silent. Do you understand?
Yes.
Anything you say may be used against you in court. Do you understand?
Yes.
You have the right to the presence of an attorney before and during any questioning. Do you understand?
Yes.
If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be appointed for you free of charge before any questioning if you want. Do you understand?
Yes.
Do you want to talk to us right now?
No.
All right.
Okay.
This is crazy. This is I'm like in shock. I'm totally in shock.
For more than 2 decades, the case appeared closed. The evidence had been reviewed. The conclusions had been accepted. The people involved moved on, believing the truth had already been established. There were no active suspects, no unanswered questions that demanded immediate attention. The file sat quietly, untouched for years, until a new form of evidence forced investigators to look at everything again. In 1986, Sherry Rasmussen was found dead in her apartment in Van Nuys, California. The crime scene suggested a violent struggle. Investigators at the time believed the attack was the result of a burglary gone wrong. The conclusion fit the visible evidence, and the case was eventually closed. No arrest was made, and the explanation remained unchallenged for years. But time has a way of changing investigations, not by altering what happened, but by changing what can be proven. Decades later, advances in forensic science allowed detectives to re-examine physical evidence collected from the scene. Items that once held limited value now offered new possibilities. Among them was a bite mark left on the victim during the struggle. At the time of the original investigation, it could not be definitively matched to anyone. Years later, it could. When DNA testing was applied to the preserved evidence, investigators were faced with a result that contradicted the original conclusion. The DNA did not belong to an unknown intruder. It belonged to someone already known to law enforcement. Someone who had not only been close to the victim, but who had also been present in the broader story surrounding the case from the very beginning. That name was Stephanie Lazarus. By the time detectives decided to interview her, Lazarus had spent years working as a police officer. She understood investigations. She understood interviews. She understood procedure. When she walked into the interview room, she was not an outsider unfamiliar with the process. She was someone who had conducted interviews herself. The detectives who met with her did not approach the conversation aggressively. They did not confront her immediately with forensic results. They understood that the interview would not succeed through pressure. It would succeed through patience. From the beginning, Lazarus appeared composed. Her posture was relaxed. Her tone was cooperative. She answered questions without visible hesitation. She spoke confidently about her background, her career, and her understanding of the case. At first, the conversation resembled a routine professional exchange rather than a criminal interview. Investigators allowed this tone to continue. They asked open-ended questions. They listened carefully. They did not interrupt. They allowed Lazarus to speak freely, knowing that familiarity with procedure can sometimes create a false sense of control. As the interview progressed, detectives gradually steered the conversation toward the past. They asked about her relationship with individuals connected to the case. They asked about timelines. They asked about events that had occurred years earlier. Lazarus answered without resistance. Her explanations were detailed. She appeared comfortable revisiting old memories. But detectives were not listening only to her words. They were observing how she framed her answers, what she emphasized, what she minimized, and what she avoided. When investigators introduced the idea that new forensic testing had been conducted, the tone of the interview shifted subtly. Lazarus did not react with shock. She did not express surprise. Instead, her responses became more measured. She asked clarifying questions. She adjusted her posture slightly. According to interview specialists, this kind of shift often signals heightened awareness rather than confusion. Detectives continued calmly. They explained the advances in DNA technology without revealing conclusions. They described the process. They allowed the implications to settle in the room without stating them directly. Silence played an important role. It created space where explanations had to exist without guidance. As the conversation continued, Lazarus's answers began to change in texture. She spoke more carefully. Her sentences became longer. She offered explanations before questions were fully formed. Investigators noted that over-explanation can sometimes indicate an attempt to control interpretation rather than simply provide information. When detectives finally presented the forensic findings, they did so without accusation. They did not raise their voices. They did not argue. They presented the results as facts, not conclusions. The DNA evidence, they explained, placed her at the scene in a way that contradicted the original burglary theory. For the first time, Lazarus's confidence visibly faltered. Her tone changed. Her facial expressions tightened. She paused before responding. The narrative she had maintained began to strain under the weight of D. The interview did not collapse suddenly. There was no outburst, no immediate confession. Instead, the conversation slowed. Answers became less direct. Silence filled the room more frequently. Detectives allowed this to happen. They did not rush to fill the gaps. Investigators later stated that this was the moment the interview shifted from discussion to resolution. The evidence no longer required interpretation. It did not rely on persuasion. It simply existed. As Lazarus attempted to reconcile her statements with the forensic findings, Inconsistencies became harder to explain. The explanations required assumptions that could not be supported. The space available for the story narrowed with each passing minute. Eventually, the interview reached a point where no further clarification could restore coherence. The detectives did not announce this moment. They did not mark it verbally, but it was clear that the conversation had reached its natural conclusion. Lazarus was later arrested and charged in connection with Sherry Rasmussen's murder. The case would proceed through the legal system, where evidence would be examined, challenged, and weighed. The outcome would be determined in court, but the interview itself remains significant for a different reason. It demonstrates how a case can remain dormant, not because the truth is unknowable, but because the tools to reveal it have not yet arrived. It shows how patience, preservation of evidence, and restraint during questioning can change the direction of an investigation years later. This interview is studied not for dramatic confrontation, but for its discipline. The detectives did not seek emotional reactions. They did not push for immediate admission. They allowed facts to take precedence over narrative. In many investigations, the focus is placed on confessions. But confessions are not required when evidence speaks clearly. Recorded facts do not change with emotion. They do not adapt to explanation. They remain fixed, waiting to be acknowledged. The interrogation of Stephanie Lazarus did not end because she was overwhelmed by questioning. It ended because the evidence left no room for interpretation. This case serves as a reminder that time does not erase truth. It only delays its recognition. And when evidence is preserved, when records are maintained, and when investigators return with better tools, even the most settled conclusions can be re-examined. In the end, the interview did not rewrite history. It clarified it, and that is what makes it significant.